Imagine walking into the freezing wilderness with four of your best friends. You're laughing, talking about the basketball game you just played. You have food, a car, and a map. But you never make it home. Months later, your car is found perfectly fine in the middle of nowhere. But you are miles away, in a place you had no reason to go. And what the police find next defies all logic. Today, we're diving into the American Dyatlov Pass, the chilling, unsolved mystery of the Yuba City Five. It was February 24, 1978. Five young men from Yuba City, California, Ted Wire, Jack Madruga, Bill Sterling, Jack Hewitt, and Gary Mathias, all headed out for a night of fun. They were slow learners, men with slight intellectual disabilities, but they were high-functioning. They lived for basketball. That night, they drove to Chico to watch a game. They were seen at a local convenience store at 10 p.m., buying snacks, Snickers, Pepsi, and some milk. They were happy. They were excited about their own tournament the next morning. But they never arrived. When the sun came up, five families woke up to empty beds. This wasn't like them. They were routine-oriented. They didn't just disappear. 2 days later, their car, a 1969 Mercury Montego, was found. But here's where it gets weird. The car wasn't crashed. It wasn't stuck in the mud. It was parked high up a mountain road, 70 miles in the wrong direction. The keys were gone. The doors were unlocked, and the gas tank, it was half full. Why would five men abandon a perfectly working car in a snowstorm to walk into the pitch-black forest?
The search for the Yuba City Five was nearly impossible. A massive blizzard hit the mountains the night they disappeared. Feet of snow covered the roads. But while the police were scratching their heads, a man named Joseph Shones came forward with a story that will give you chills. Joseph was on that same mountain road that night. His car had gotten stuck in the snow, and he was having a mild heart attack. He was lying in his car, terrified, when he saw lights behind him. He looked out and saw two sets of headlights. One was a car, the other a pickup truck. He saw a group of men and a woman holding a baby. Desperate for help, Joseph stepped out and screamed, "Help! I'm having a heart attack!" The lights instantly clicked off. Silence. A few hours later, Joseph saw flashlights moving in the woods. He screamed again. The lights went out again. Joseph sat in his car for hours, freezing, until he finally ran out of gas and hiked down the mountain for help. Wait, who was the woman with the baby? None of the five men were women. None of them had a baby. Was Joseph hallucinating from the pain, or was there someone else on that mountain that night? The thaw. Spring came and the snow began to melt. On June 4th, 4 months after the disappearance, a group of motorcyclists found a Forest Service trailer. It was 19 miles away from where the car was abandoned. 19 miles of hiking through deep snow in thin jackets. When the police opened the door, the smell hit them first. Inside, on a bed, wrapped in 8 sheets, was the body of Ted Wire. Ted was a big man, over 200 pounds. When they found him, he weighed barely 100 pounds. He had starved to death. But here's the part that makes no sense. The trailer was full of food. There were enough sea rations, military canned food, to feed all 5 men for an entire year. Only a few cans had been opened. There was a heater, plenty of matches, and heavy winter clothes inside. Ted sat in that trailer for 8 to 13 weeks,
slowly starving and freezing to death while surrounded by food and heat that he never touched. Why? Was he too scared to make a sound? Was someone or something watching the trailer from the outside?
The discovery of Ted Ware's body in the trailer was just the beginning of a nightmare that the police couldn't explain. If Ted had stayed in that trailer for nearly 3 months, where were the others? Why didn't they help him? The snow continued to melt, and the forest began to give up its secrets. A few days later, searchers found the remains of Jack Madruga and Bill Sterling. They were on opposite sides of the road, about 11 miles from where the car was abandoned. But here's the chilling part. Their bodies weren't together. They were scattered. Animals had been there, yes, but the way they were found suggested they had simply collapsed from exhaustion and cold while trying to walk somewhere. But walk where? They were walking deeper into the wilderness, away from the town, away from safety. Then they found Jack Hewitt, or what was left of him. His father, who was helping with the search, found his son's backbone near the trailer. His skull was found 100 yards away. The grief was unbearable, but the mystery only grew darker, because one man was still missing, Gary Mathias. The man who wasn't there. Gary Mathias is the key to this entire mystery. Unlike the other 4, Gary was a former soldier. He had served in the army, but he suffered from severe schizophrenia. He was on heavy medication to keep his mind stable. If Gary didn't take his pills, he became paranoid. He saw things, he heard voices, and that night, Gary didn't have his medication with him. The police found Gary's tennis shoes inside the Forest Service trailer. This means Gary was there. He was in the trailer with Ted Ware. But Gary was a soldier. He knew how to survive. He knew how to open cans of food. He knew how to start a fire. So why was Ted starving to death while Gary was right there? Some believe Gary's mind snapped in the cold. Maybe he thought the trailer was a trap. Maybe he thought the people searching for them were enemies. But there's a darker theory. Remember Joseph Shones, the witness who saw the lights and the woman with the baby? He said he saw a pickup truck behind the men's car. What if the Yuba City Five weren't alone on that mountain? Police found a map in the car, neatly folded. The car's undercarriage had no scratches, meaning whoever drove it up that Rocky Mountain road was an expert driver or someone who knew the path perfectly. None of the 5 men knew that area. Did someone lead them up there? Did someone force them to leave the car and walk into the snow at gunpoint? If so, where did they go? And why hasn't Gary Mathias been seen for over 40 years?
The families of the Yuba City Five were left with more questions than answers. The FBI, the police, and dozens of volunteers searched every inch of the Plumas National Forest. But as the years turned into decades, the case went cold. Yet, the theories only grew more disturbing. Theory 1. The panic. Some believe the men simply took a wrong turn. Maybe they got lost in the dark, hit a snowbank, and panicked. Their intellectual disabilities might have made them feel that the car was a trap, and they decided to walk toward the only light they saw, the Forest Service trailer. But this doesn't explain the car. The car wasn't stuck. It was perfectly drivable. Why leave it? Theory 2. The soldier's break. Then there's Gary Mathias. Remember, Gary was a soldier with schizophrenia. If he missed his medication, he could have become paranoid. Did Gary lead them into the woods? Did he force them to stay in the trailer, terrified that someone was outside? Ted Ware died of starvation while Gary's shoes were in the room. Some think Gary took Ted's shoes, which were bigger, and hiked even deeper into the mountains,
eventually dying where his body would never be found. Or maybe he's still out there. Theory 3. The third party. This is the one that keeps investigators up at night. The witness, Joseph Shans, swore he saw a pickup truck and a woman with a baby. If that's true, the Yuba City Five weren't alone. Was there a sixth person? Someone who manipulated them? Someone who told them to drive up that mountain? There are rumors in the local towns about a party that went wrong. Some say the boys witnessed something they weren't supposed to see at that convenience store in Chico, and they were chased up the mountain by people who knew the terrain. The final mystery. To this day, not a single trace of Gary Mathias has ever been found. No bones, no clothing, no ID. Nothing. If you go to that mountain road today, even in the summer, there's an eerie silence. The locals call it the American Dyatlov Pass for a reason. 5 men went to a basketball game, and only 4 came back in caskets. What made 5 grown men abandon a warm car to walk 19 miles through a blizzard? What did they see in the darkness that was so terrifying that staying in the snow felt safer than staying in their car? We may never know. But next time you're driving on a lonely mountain road at night and you see headlights behind you, don't stop. Because sometimes the things that follow us into the dark never intended to let us go. Thanks for watching. If you have a theory about what happened to the Yuba City Five, leave a comment below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more deep dives into the world's most chilling mysteries. Stay safe out there.